Welcome to Far Out with Faust, everyone. I'm Faust Chicho, and today I'm sitting here with Bo Lopker. A little bit about Bo. He has a BS in Applied Mathematics and an MS in Computer Science from UCSB, where he worked with the Oakley Evolution Lab. And he was building phylogenetic trees on their supercomputing cluster, if you can figure out what that means. He's also built the space image viewer for Las Cumbres Observatory. Am I saying that right? Las Cumbres?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's helping astronomers around the world understand the universe. Not many people can say that. So most recently, Beau spent 7 years working at 23andMe, and that's where he ended up as a senior engineering manager. And he ran their engineering teams for research experience, engagement, clinical trial recruitment, and cloud infrastructure. He also learned how to run large engineering teams and translate science into products, which is a very, very awesome thing to be able to do these days. So
Yeah.
currently, Beau's co-founding a company called Totem, which this company aims to break people out of their social media bubbles. So you would think that's why I'm talking to him, but that's not the reason why. No, Beau, thank you so much for beaming in, man. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, that's great. I love the podcast.
Man, I've just been excited to talk to you since I heard about you.
Yeah, was there anything in particular you want me to kind of dive into or
Well, I mean, first let's get into a little more about your background, like, and how you ended up kind of, at the seat of all these kind of high tech and computing things.
Well, I want to know
Yeah.
first, what was your earliest memory as a human being?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my earliest memory. I have a lot of scars on my legs for some reason, and pretty much only on my legs. And so, every time you get a scar, you kind of like it burns it into your memory. And I have this really large one over the top of my kneecap. And I was so young. I was kind of just learning how to ride a bicycle. And my father was kind of the type of like father that throws you into the deep end and,
Mm.
sink or swim kind of situation. And so he, had been riding a bike for a long time, going very fast down our neighborhood streets. And I was desperately trying to keep up. And there's a speed bump, as there are, and he flies over it fine. I hit it going full speed. My hands fly off the handlebars, and I careen directly into like a baby palm tree.
Oh no.
The real spiky guys, and head first into that, slice my leg open, and there's just my whole shin's covered in blood.
Oh
Um,
man.
and so that's, as far as I know, that's my introduction into the world. But he was like, "Yeah, walk it off. You don't need stitches."
Throw some
I
dirt on it. You're gonna be all right.
definitely needed
Throw a
stitches,
little
but didn't
Robitussin
get
in
them.
there, little tussin.
That's hilarious, dude. That's funny because one of my earliest memories what also involved some scarring, like the first one was like falling down. Well, I felt upstairs, if that's possible. I was going up and my toe missed the stairs and I went kabosh, so I got this scar on my chin. I don't know if
Oh
you can see
wow,
it.
yeah.
Um, but it was Christmas and my old man didn't feel like bringing me to trying to get me into any hospital. It needed stitches, but he was like, "We're not going anywhere." And he put butterfly band-aids. I was like, "This is gonna stop the bleeding." He was like, "If you squeeze it, it will." I'm like, "Okay." No, that's fine. And the other story also involves a bike and a fall and a broken face. You never forget that, those stories stay with you. But let's
Yeah.
fast forward a little bit, Bo.
Just like a few months.
Let's go forward a little bit in time. Um, were you always fascinated with like software and programs? Sorry, look, my dog is drunk. Check it out.
Oh my God,
Leave this.
so relaxed.
Were you one of those kids who was like watched war games and like had the FBI after him, like Parker, and like one of those FBI kids?
That's what's kind of funny about this story is I didn't. What happened when I was younger is my parents took away all cable television because we were kind of addicted to it, my sister and I.
Mm,
But what we had was like an old DOS computer that had internet access. We were one of the first families in the neighborhood to get internet access because of what my parents did for work. And so they allowed me to do whatever I wanted on that. Um, and I never really programmed. What I did was I would kind of try to figure out how to play video games and try to entertain myself on it. So I learned how operating systems, how to use them, but never really got into programming. I look back and I did some programming like things. There's this one really amazing product from Legos called Mindstorm, where kids can kind of introduce themselves into programming by moving these blocks around to kind of create programming paradigms to make the Legos move like with robotics. Um, and I played with that and I love it, but it didn't really click as programming to me. And so uh, I went through high school just being terrible at high school. Um, I almost got like kicked out of high school. I was so bad.
You and me both.
In retrospect, I was just bored, right?
Yeah.
I did get in trouble for hacking at one point.
Nice.
Uh, that's a whole story, but I didn't really think I was a programmer. I liked programming. And when I went to college, I I tried like mechanical engineering out, but everything was like so high level. They didn't really explain why we did a lot of things. We just kind of had equations and we plugged things in. And so I was like, "Oh, I want to know more about what we're doing here." So I went with the math major. And the only programming I did there was more like numerical analysis, where you use a program called MATLAB. It's a very constrained environment, and you do very specific mathy type equations. I
Wow.
had a lot of fun with that, but I was like, I still didn't consider myself a programmer. And then I graduated, um, and I was like, cool, I got this degree. I'm going to go find a job. And it turns out nobody wants someone with a math degree, especially if you can't program. And so
They're
I had
like,
a
you're
bunch of,
useless to us.
yeah, it's they don't tell you that when you're doing your math.
No, of course
They're
not.
kind of like grooming you for grad school, I think. But I didn't want to do that. And so I desperately was looking for jobs. I applied to like Google and not Facebook, but some other big tech companies, and they're like, you're useless. You
Yeah.
can't. I barely got past the first interview. Like, you can't do anything useful for us. Like, you're good at math, fine.
Yeah,
Go get a
we got
PhD.
plenty of calculators, all right. See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was kind of disheartened. Luckily, my mom had a connection with a guy named Wayne Rosing, who was one of the first, I think, VP of engineers for Google. And at that time, he had kind of retired and created this Las Cumbres Observatory Foundation. And he was obsessed with space. And so what he wanted to do was create this company where they put these 2 meter wide telescopes all over the world, fully automate them, and allow astronomers from all over the world to like send requests about what they want to take photos of in the sky. And so you had this giant network of telescopes where people all around the world were just kind of grabbing pictures from them, and then getting these large data dumps back. And so somehow she convinced him to hire me to write kind of plugins for one of their pieces of software. And I remember the interview. I walked in and I printed out programs that I'd written, like very small programs, like
Yeah.
math stuff. I like had all these papers and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what
Is
I'm
this
doing.
what you want? Yeah.
Does this look good to you? And I remember the head engineer was like, "This guy's a joke." He just like he didn't want anything to do with me. But
Yeah.
Wayne, was his boss, so like just hire the guy and see what happens.
So what happened?
I ended up rewriting the entire image viewer that they had that I was supposed to write plugins for. I was like, "Hey, this isn't working. This isn't working." It turns
This thing's a
out
piece of shit. I can do it
it
better.
it turns out it was bad, and I didn't know that. I thought it was awesome until I learned how to program. I read
Yeah.
books. A lot of self-directed learning, and I started to see. I was like, I had the book open. I was like, okay, good practice, bad practice, and then I look at the code and be like, oh, this is all bad. It was all in like one file. It wasn't broken
Wow.
up correctly. It was like, and so I went to the head engineer. I was like, hey, look, this is what the book says. This is what the program does.
Right.
He's like, oh yeah, that's terrible.
He's like, really? Wait, let me see that. That's crazy. So you found it, then you realized that it wasn't right. It could be improved on. It's a
Yeah.
good thing that that dude hired you. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how those things work out. But but this is an awesome concept that, to set up telescopes and allow astronomers on a global network to use those, it's pretty incredible. So, but like not anyone can use them though, right? You have to be a certain, caliber astronomer, or like, how does it work?
I think that would be amazing if anyone could get on there, but it's not like a very quick thing. The telescope has to move, and
Yeah.
it's a really sensitive equipment. So I believe you have to be funded or in a lab somewhere
Okay.
from a university. I don't think you can just log in. You have to be,
Yeah.
have credentials.
I figured maybe one day they'll have Google Universe. You can
Well,
see the
hopefully, yeah.
universe 25 years ago. Like,
Hopefully we'll map the sky at some point, and you can just watch the sky live and do
I
whatever you
mean,
want to do there.
somebody's got to be working on it somewhere. But so that's really cool, man. So I guess that earned you like a lot of street cred there. And so what happened from there?
Yeah, the project I rewrote turned out much better. I had Wayne sitting next to me most days, like telling me what features he wanted, and I was like struggling to keep up. Um, and quickly I ran into a wall about how big the program could be, because like there's a certain amount of complexity you can keep in your head, right? But once it gets to a certain point, you start to need to have those like good engineering practices to keep things simple and not complex, so complex that you can't just think about it. And so I ended up hitting a wall, and I was like, okay, well, this programming thing has something to it. Uh, I need to go back to school. And so after working there for about a year, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I feel so. I could then you could see the universe, but you're like, okay, now I want to go explore it. So I applied to grad school at UCSB, um, and after taking some like what they call extension classes or like one-off classes, they let me in, and I ended up getting, I think, all A's except for like one B plus. So like
Wow.
my terrible like high school career like really
Yeah.
flipped when I got interested in something.
It's amazing when you find something you love and you start to excel at it. You're like, hey, I'm not a fucking failure after all. How
Yeah.
about that? I mean, that was my experience anyway. When I started to get like almost a 4.0 in my major, um, I was like, see that? I mean, those failing marks you got your freshman year don't help maintain that GPA, but it was great to know that I could achieve that.
We had one class where a CTO from a local tech company came in and taught us how to make real world, web applications.
Hmm.
And there was no test, but he put us into teams, and there was leadership in the teams, and we built something that really worked. Um, our pro- our project was a social media network for the post-apocalyptic zombie
So
experience.
like right now,
Yeah, I
basically,
mean,
you're
there's
sitting
no
on a gold
zombies.
mine, Bo. You're sitting on a gold mine right now. You already have the software.
Well, yeah, one of the features was like a heat map of where the zombies were. What would you want to know
Right.
if you were in a zombie
Where are the
apocalypse?
droves of, where are they now? Oh, okay. Yeah. That's crazy cool though. I mean,
Obviously,
just
we got funded, and it turned into a huge company. So no,
the practice though, I mean, like practice is everything. I mean, it gets you guys ready. And then I think one of the reasons why people who come out of, UCSB tend to do really well and get picked up by some of the biggest and best companies is because you guys are ready to go. You've had a lot of real practice. So that's cool. I mean, obviously the zombie part wasn't real, but but the applications and program you made was. So
yeah,
replace zombies with anything, raccoons, whatever.
yeah. I encourage people if they want to program to make fun projects like that, because it removes like the kind of concern around actually getting people to use your software. You can just focus on building the thing for fun.
Yeah.
Takes away a lot of that worry and concern.
Yeah. In general, it's kind of you have to go about it. I mean, if you're too concerned about who it's going to please and how it's going to come off, then you're not going to take any chances.
Exactly.
Um, but so, oh shit, what was I going to say? Was it about zombies? I don't think it was about zombies.
I love zombies. If you have zombie questions, I want to talk about zombies.
Yeah.
What about zombies, Bo?
Yeah. What's your
what,
favorite,
what?
zombie movie and what's your favorite zombie show?
All right.
You're like, I had no idea the podcast was gonna go
Are you
here.
talking plants versus zombies? Are we talking plants versus zombies?
I mean, that's a fun game. Played it, but the one that comes to mind is actually a comic book, or was originally a comic book, and The Walking Dead. Maybe you've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
it.
I used to have the number one issue. I sold it while it was hot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
you see
comic book
that
is.
row of stuff behind him? That like that those shelves?
Yeah.
Oh,
Those
Those
are
are
all comic books.
oh, nice.
those are all
Yeah,
graded
he's
books. Yeah.
obsessed with fucking comic books.
I wouldn't say
Awesome. This is a great
obsessed.
topic then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so the Walking Dead comic book series is like way more graphic and
Hmm.
intense than the series ever was, but the core of it, and which I think is the most interesting part about it, is it wasn't really about the zombies. You know, it
Nope.
was about the connections that people made
Yeah.
in those very trying times. Um, I think that's refreshing, and also what makes it such a popular show. It wasn't about the there is
And
gore in it, and there is the
yeah.
shooting and stuff to keep you kind of entertained, but really the connections those people make.
No,
Uh,
and you're absolutely right. And I would watch, and especially those first couple of seasons, like the writing and the acting was off the charts. I mean, like, first of all, the writing, the situation they created, the pressure cooker they created around the relationships was fucking brilliant. I mean, like, and the actors that they had in those leads, especially the first 2, 3 seasons, I mean, they were as good as you can get in that. It was fantastic. It's no wonder that it made so much money. I mean, it was brilliant. They took a fantastic comic book, which was not the most popular because it couldn't really go mainstream, and they turned it into a show that, to everyone's surprise, went very mainstream. And they're still fighting over the profits.
yeah.
How many years later? Yeah, I don't know what they did to it there in those last few seasons. I was like,
Well, they, didn't they had to go off script though, because I thought they ran out of kind of content from the comic books, right?
they did, and then they started to run out of actors because everyone's like, okay, I'm checking, you know. But man, Rick Grimes is a legend. He'll forever be legend now. It's cool. Yeah. Um, what the other thing I want to know is, so these observatories that you built, what did you were you ever like did you get to spend any time like using them and seeing how they work and pointing them out towards the universe, and like what were you able to observe? Was that an interest of yours?
Yeah, so I got to stare because I was making the image viewer. I got to stare at these incredible space images basically all day.
Wow.
Um, the disappointing thing is that the scientific images, they're all black and white. They don't look like those cool kind of like
Yeah.
colorized space images. In fact, space doesn't really look like that at all. What those colorized images are generally three images taken at different light wavelengths, and then those wavelengths are mapped to the red, green, blue color space. And so it might be like various levels of infrared that you wouldn't actually see with your naked eye,
Yeah.
and then the image processing brings it back to what we would see as a picture.
So like when you see pictures of the Horsehead Nebula, or one of those um like like the star clusters, like the nurseries where there's all that, like I don't know, like it looks like billowing, almost like not smoke, but like a dense fog, or almost like a slime that you would see underwater, the way kind of slime moves underwater. I don't know, slime is not the best word, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's like that thickness, but it's in space. Like, so when we're seeing that what do they do? It's the same thing with that. They just make that a color that you can actually see. What would that look like?
Yeah, those are usually, I think, gases or like small particles that either reflect or radiate like infrared. And so a lot of these images are taken with infrared filters on the cameras. And
But they
so
got to be
you,
it's got to be big though, right? I mean, like if it's showing up and it's huge, like you see the stars in it. If the stars are this big next to it and it's all this, I mean, it
oh
looks
yeah,
like all this schmutz around it. Like it's got to be
yeah,
pretty big, right?
it's
I mean,
huge.
like,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
all this material in space that's floating around, getting like if there's like a pulsar star, it's shooting out all kinds of hot gases that are much larger than it. Space is is a scary place, especially when you start looking into black holes.
Yeah.
Like these things are going to consume the entire universe at some point, and us included.
Yeah, but it's just going to pop out the other side and start a new universe, you know?
Maybe we might get crushed into like we might get crushed into a singular atom. Yeah, I don't know.
That's my theory. Is that it's all a beginning and an end, you know? So even though we can't see through the black hole, it's literally like it's almost like a you know, a recycling slash like to another universe. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, because we know that energy can't be destroyed, right? So what happens to it when it goes to the black hole? Where does it go? It's
Yeah.
not gone, right? And the other thing I want to know is, why do they always say that no light can escape a black hole? And yet when you look at a black hole and you see the images of a star being sucked up, you see some of the light escaping. You see some of the light kind of getting away, right? I mean, am I crazy?
Well, that's due to the event horizon. So like until and there's an equation for where the event horizon is based on how large or how heavy the black hole is. But until light crosses the event horizon, it can still escape. But if you look at pictures of black holes, you'll see this kind of this lensing effect that happens where you can actually see behind the black hole.
Yeah.
As light comes at it and kind of skims across the side, it actually is so dense that it bends the light around it.
Oh, that's what's happening.
And so light kind of like falls into an orbit around the black hole,
It
which is
does.
like an insane thing to think about.
Yeah. So that's what I was like, that's what I see. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought the black hole was supposed to suck in all the light. Why is it in a, you know, in a circle?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
makes
It's
sense.
that event horizon. And that's why they're all like, there's this blackness in the middle. That's where the event horizon happens, and things can't escape.
But they estimate that there's a black hole and, you know, and some obviously even bigger than, you know, giant black holes and fucking mega black holes in every universe, right? I mean, in every galaxy, I should say, not universe,
Yeah.
but, you know, and if I always
Jesus Christ.
hold on.
This is very unprofessional. Anyway, hey, have you heard the theory that from Nassim? Do you know the guy Nassim?
Yeah.
What's his last name?
Talib?
No,
Talib?
no, Nassim Harem or something. Nassim, hold on. I follow him
His
on
wife
Instagram.
had an orgasm while giving birth on 60 Minutes.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah, for real. You can Google that shit.
Nassim
Orgasmic
Harem.
birth.
I'm right. Haramain. I don't know.
Haramain. Yeah,
Not the black swan guy.
He's got a theory that, and I think we were talking about this in Stockholm, but he's got a theory that at the center of an atom, that the event horizon of the center of that atom is like identical to a black hole.
That guy.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
And I'm totally butchering this idea. So, and you're way too educated.
We're gonna have him on the podcast one day.
You're way beyond me on the astrophysics side of things. But what he claims, or what his theory is that at the center of every atom is a black hole, and all those black holes are connected across the universe, and everything's in spin. You know, like everything's in spin around an atom or spin around a typhoon or whatever, and that it's all an identical spin, and then it's all, you know, I don't know. It's where I guess the Buddhists say that in the center of our heart is the entire universe. Like there's a black hole at the center of our heart. I don't know. Have you heard of this? Sounds a little new agey for me, but it's cute.
One idea that I like to play with that I have no, physical basis for is that the universe is recursive.
What does that mean?
And that, yeah, at this, every atom contains its own universe, and you can go into it, and then you recurse back into itself.
Like a
I don't know.
fractal? It's in like a fractal, so you can go like into any part of the universe. And
Nassim is
have the whole
huge on
universe.
that. Nassim always talks about fractals.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like an infinite fractal, so you can keep going in, and potentially it's the same universe or different universes in every atom. And so, the amount of atoms out in the world, is huge, and our universe is huge. But, what if we're just a single atom in another universe?
Yeah.
Right. I think I heard that on Animal House. Do you guys ever see Animal House?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I did. Yeah.
Where he gets stoned and he's like, and there could be an entire universe in the atom of my pinky. He's like, yes. Can I buy some pot from you? But But so that being said, wow, that's a. Do you ever get in the
Tough
multiple?
to come back
So
from that
you're in the
one.
multiple universe theory then, obviously, or the multiple world theory.
Well, there's that theory, and then there's like that there's infinite parallel universes, all with slightly different kind of characteristics, which I
Almost
find
like in
really
a video
intriguing.
game, you could have anything happening at any one given time in a video game. So it is all happening at the same time, but you only choose one path, kind of thing, right?
Exactly. And they did an episode on Rick and Morty about it as well, uh, which is like a fun episode. But the illusion was that Morty was somehow having a reset button, so he could make mistakes and press the reset button, and he would go back in time to where he put his save point, and then could replay parts of his life over and over again. But what Rick did, which is he's kind of like this devil character where he grants wishes, but in the worst way possible, is he was just transporting Morty to different parallel universes, and whatever mistakes he made in one universe carried on through that universe, and he just went into a different universe. So what the button really did was
Fuck up one
teleport
universe
Morty
after the next.
into another body and killed the old Morty, and then let him kind of live out his fantasies.
Did you watch Avengers Endgame?
Yeah.
Do you remember when they have the time travel idea and they all think it's like Back to the Future? And they have that, there's like a bunch of funny parts and jokes when they're like, what do you mean? Paul Rudd shows up, he's Ant-Man, and he's like, we just go back and they're like, are you seriously basing your time travel theory off Back to the Future? And he's like, yeah, what do you mean? And they're like, no, that's not how it fucking works. But it's like my favorite part of that movie.
Wait, did they have an episode where like somehow they figured out that there were aliens and that the Earth was a reality show and then they were being canceled? Is that The Simpsons? They found out like Earth was a reality show and then they discovered it was like they were being observed by aliens and then they realized, oh shit, we have to cancel Earth. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think that was a Rick and Morty episode as well.
Was that Rick and Morty? Yeah, that's what I was saying. Was that Rick and
Show
Morty?
me what you got.
I don't know. So
Yeah.
23andMe, bro. What
Yeah, man.
how the fuck did that happen? Like are you collecting everyone's DNA? Is this some like
Yeah, we know what you
galactic
guys are doing.
experiment
Come on.
to do biometrics on the planet Earth or
Really,
what do
we really just
right?
dump it into a big pool and we just swim in it. Just, just do.
We just get all the spit and we put it in the tub. No, but
For those of you who don't know 23andMe, who wants to, you want to explain it, Faust?
I mean 23andMe is one of the it's one of the recent companies that have popped up that will trace your ancestry for you. And as far as I know, 23andMe, I think like ancestry.com, and there's like one or two other, but I think 23andMe and ancestry.com are probably like the most prominent and the most widely used. And what they'll do is they form a database with your DNA, and that usually, you guys I think use the spit technique too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, like they don't ask for your hair or your skin cells or or your
And
blood.
there's a reason for that too, actually.
So I definitely want to know that. But and then they take it, and so like you spit in a thing, you got to make sure it's enough spit, and then you send it off, and then what they'll do is they'll put it in their database, and so then they'll send you the results based on what they have, but then they'll continually update the results because their database is constantly growing. So as they get more people who match and are around your family tree, they can put together a greater detailed picture for you of where you're from,
And also like medical history and things like that you might have predispositions for, which I found out that I thought, wow, that's, if they find out someone has a
disposition. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even know you guys do that. I don't think, not everyone does that, right, Bo?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that 23andMe does that people don't know about or don't realize that I could talk about for sure.
Are they cloning the human race and making them work in underground caves?
Yeah, I'm actually a clone. They have
That'd be so weird if we
real
all went
Bo.
down there and you saw like a duplicate of everybody that 23andMe had ever gotten spit from. That'd be really trippy.
Yeah, I escaped from the code cave, but there's a bunch of me's down there still coding away.
Mini U's or full grown U's?
Yeah, the replication process isn't exact, so they're about three-quarter sized.
Oh,
But it's smaller down there, so it works out.
Yeah, you can fit more in, so it's good.
yeah, that's what she said.
They get more bang for their buck that way. Anyway,
That's what she said.
so what I want to know, Bo, is like what. So first of all, I didn't realize that 23andMe also will inform people of any predispositions. Is that an option that they have? Do they have to like obviously like you don't want to like try to find out what part of Europe your ancestors are from and then get a letter saying you should probably have a fucking hysterectomy or whatever the fuck it's called. You know what I mean? Like
Colonoscopy.
in your case, colonoscopy, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so obviously like that has, did you have to pay extra for that option? What's up with that?
They don't offer colonoscopy, so you can't do that.
You're fucked, honey.
No, I mean, they would recommend you get one because you have a predisposition for ass cancer. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it's interesting to see what the name, are you familiar with why it's called 23andMe?
Not really.
So
No.
the 23 is 23 chromosomes that you have in your
Oh,
body. And so 23andMe is like, trying to democratize helping people understand what their DNA is. DNA and me. And so any product or service that falls under that umbrella, we've either tried or they provide. And so when I was there, and I don't know if they think about this way anymore, but there was effectively three pillars to the consumer product. The first one was ancestry, and yeah, the second one was health, and the third one was research, which was one of the teams that I managed. And so ancestry, I think everyone knows about. You get kind of your wheel, and you see, it's like from 500. It's like for 500 years ago from today, where were your ancestors? It's kind of what that shows you. And then you can kind of zoom in and figure out cool details. And there's also kind of a social network that they have where you can connect with people who are related to you.
hey, John, you're my seventh cousin. Go fuck yourself.
I don't have any money. Go away.
Yeah, get out of here.
And then the health pillar, which is really the reason I joined 23andMe, was exactly that, to help people find pre-existing conditions that their genetics were telling them. And the idea behind that was preventative healthcare. And so there's a couple conditions that have very strong genetic markers. And if you have those markers, your risk of those conditions go up precipitously. And so things like breast cancer, like the BRCA2 gene, if you look into it.
Yeah.
There's one called Bloom's condition, which is very hereditary, but it only happens in certain populations. There's Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. Those two are very complex. With BRCA2, there's like one gene that expresses these things. With Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, there's many, many genes, and different combinations
a lot
do
of
different
factors,
things.
and those are probably much harder to pin down.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are both like big areas of research at 23andMe.
Cool.
The Michael J. Fox Foundation, for instance, had basically paid PhD students to come do research with us, cover their salary as long as they could have access to the database.
Cool.
But they never gave any raw data out to anyone outside the company. So that's kind of how you had to do it. Is you had to come work for them. So I was going somewhere with that.
Yeah. So I think we were gonna get into like what kind of health conditions can they check for just from your spit? I mean, that's where I was wondering, like what. I mean, we just talked about a few of them, but what are the ones that were so big that you would notify people for?
Right. And so some conditions are very sensitive. And the ones I just mentioned were very sensitive, which is probably the reason I mentioned them or remember them. But there's other less sensitive ones. Like, for instance, it's very hereditary if your urine smells like
You got the bad breath gene, man. You're
yeah.
like,
If your urine
kids
smells
are
really
gonna
bad,
have
that's
it.
very hereditary. There's a bitter taster gene.
Yeah.
So people who tend to like IPAs tend to actually have a lack of bitter taste receptors in their mouth, and so people don't like IPAs. Like, oh, it's too bitter for me. And there's actually these strips that have a chemical on it that activate those very specific receptors. And some people, it just tastes like paper, and some people, it's the worst flavor they've ever
Wow.
tried. We had those in the office to like test ourselves.
Yeah, that's cool. Be like, ah, shit. Yeah, no, I'm not. It doesn't taste like anything to me. It's funny because I have two kids and they're so different. Their taste buds are so different. They can literally take the same bite, and one of them's like, I don't know. And the other one's like, oh God. He's like trying, he can't get it out of his mouth fast enough. And he's so sensitive to hot pepper. And my other guy, I'm like, you want me to put a little more? And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Whatever. Just leave the bottle.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, they might have those genetic differences,
Yeah.
even though they come from the same parents.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people ask, like, what is 23andMe doing with the data?
Selling it
And
to big tech. We're selling it to big tech for millions of dollars. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't know. What are you guys
Big
doing?
tech, big pharma.
Yeah, well, big pharma is getting their own collection. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah. Is that what the testing's all about?
Well, why not?
Yeah.
Did you read the fine print of the testing about what they
No.
can do with their data?
What can they do with it?
I don't know. How many tests did you take without reading what they can do with your DNA?
I mean, traveling back and forth to Europe a bunch.
Yeah, exactly. You should have read the fine print, man.
Dude,
They probably got 3 clones of you right now.
I mean, I just wish I could employ them. I mean, that's all.
Anyway, Bo. So where were we? Oh yeah. So what made you take an interest in health the way you did? I mean, you just thought, well, I can make a bigger difference there. And if I'm going to be working for this company, how did the thought process go?
yeah, so at UCSB, I got a job with the Evolution Lab, the Oakley Evolution Lab, and they needed someone desperately to help them translate the programs that the PhD students are making and the postgrad students are making to be able to run on these kind of superclusters. So how do you take this program from laptop to massively parallel, huge computers? And I was like, that sounds like a really complicated job, and I don't feel qualified for it at all. But when I got there and I showed up, it turned out the little bit of computing knowledge that I had was far and away a lot more than what the PhD students had. Not because they weren't smart, but because they had entirely different focuses. They had so much stuff going on. They didn't know how to run a web server. They didn't know how to. I was like, oh, I can actually do that. And so that's when it clicked to me. I was like, I don't want to go into a tech company. I don't want to go do tech stuff with other tech people. I want to apply this knowledge to domains that are generally underserved by tech. And
That's
so,
awesome, dude. That's really good. I mean, that's a very noble thing for you to do. I don't know if you thought about it that way or not, but I think it is. So I wanted to say that to you.
It seems like the easy thing to do, honestly. It's like,
Well,
I can bring all this knowledge to people who need it,
Yeah, I mean, there's that too, but I mean, big tech it's such a mogul and a monster these days in so many aspects of life that, you're obviously a very intelligent person. And so for you to decide that if you're going to apply yourself in this field, I'm going to do it in a way that is not just advancing this already, kind of out of control monster that is big tech. I mean, I don't know if that's offensive for you when I say that. If it is, I apologize. That's just how I feel about kind of what's happening right now and where we're at with like Google and Facebook and Amazon and these people and just the amount of effect they have on every aspect of not only society but now government and policy is just it's a little insane. So that's why I remarked what I remarked.
Whatever the opposite of offended is, that's what I am.
Oh, okay.
Full support, preaching to the choir.
Cool.
I find it's, for lack of a better word, a travesty that how many just wildly intelligent people there are trying to figure out how to get us to watch more ads.
Yeah.
That just seems like such a waste of energy.
And they're so good at it. I mean, they, obviously there's a lot of intelligence that went into it because they're really good at it. Before you know it, you're like, wait a minute, what am I doing? What? Shit. you catch yourself 10 minutes later, like, I gotta put this freaking phone down. What am I doing? They're really good at writing programs that get you to keep watching, all of them. So it's amazing that to hear you recognize that, and be like, wow, it's a shame. It is a shame. I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the way I view Instagram is not as a photo sharing platform. It's an ad platform that people share photos on.
that's right.
It's
It
not.
was a photo sharing. They get you sucked in, but then they know where they're going with it. You know what I'm saying? I
I
think
actually
it.
had an Instagram account before Facebook bought them, and that was really the vibe. Like, hey, take some pictures,
That's
throw
right.
some cheesy filters on them, and share it with your friends.
Not
And then the
anymore.
second Facebook bought them, they changed the terms of service, and I
Yep.
was like, I'm deleting my account.
I
I
don't
can't
blame
do
you,
this
dude.
again. Um,
It's ridiculous. Oh, so yeah, we're totally aligned in that respect. I mean, I haven't had the the wisdom to delete my account yet, but I also, I need it for the podcast. And yeah, I'm gonna be honest. You know what I mean? Like not that I spend too much time on it, but it definitely, it becomes a way to not just sit. So you just, you kill time with it, but that's, you know what I mean? Like then you're reading, you're like, oh my god, like this person posted that, and look what this fucking idiot posted. You know what I mean? Like, now you're judging, and you're like, and you're flabbergasted about the world, and that's what they want, because that keeps you fucking that keeps you scrolling. Yeah, man. Yeah, I get so
so,
happy when I get kicked off those platforms. They're like, you're suspended for 30 days. I'm like, oh, thank God. Yes, I
you got
needed that.
suspended? What did you do?
Oh man, dude, I got suspended. The first time I got a warning was, well, that time I probably deserved it. I reposted a screenshot of Hunter Biden when they censored that story, and then all those photos came out, and he was like in the mirror. It looked like that the American Psycho, with when Christian Bale's got that chick bent over, and he's like in
It's
the mirror
flexing.
flexing. Yeah, there was like Hunter Biden must have been reenacting that or something. And I posted that, and they flagged me because they said it was partially nude. I'm like, oh, okay, like there's chicks' asses all over this thing, but okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I got was, so it said, you have received a friend, instead of a friend request, it said suicide request, and it had Hillary Clinton's picture next to it. And I must have found this stupid little graphic and posted it. Like, I must have been having a good time with it, because I posted like 7 times as a comment in one day. And that was July of 2020. And then about 3 weeks ago, right when July was ending, 2021, I get a notice from them saying, your account has been restricted for 90 days because in July of 2020, you posted this comment, and they showed me the 7 times that I posted. I was like, what the fuck?
I
And they were like,
remember
we
that.
take suicide very seriously here. I was like, yes, so does Hillary Clinton. I don't understand. It's a joke. You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously a joke. Oh man. But
The, the,
apparently
the
that's,
really dark thing about that is they are, if you read the statistics
oh
on
my God.
suicide, starting in around 2007 to around 2018, suicide rates from children aged 10 to like 24 have gone up 50%.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a random occurrence that's
No,
exactly the same time that social media began to take off.
there is no such thing as a random occurrence. That's what I believe. That I get a lot of slack when I share that sometimes, but I don't know. The more I learn, the less I believe that there's such a thing as coincidence. We just can't always put the pieces together. You know what I'm saying? Like, because time has elapsed, or not enough time has elapsed for us to be able to say, oh my God, those things are too directly, they're related. You know what I mean? They're synchronistic. That's kind of like what I've come to enjoy and believe, and realize is, even the most crazy accidents have happened out of some cause and effect that you have had something to do with on some level. And sometimes it could be a very metaphysical level. It could be a whole belief system that you've been taught since you were a kid, like I'm the luckiest guy on the planet, and then one day you just happen to win $150,000, and you think it was a fluke, an accident. But this whole time you've been harboring this belief that you're the luckiest motherfucker you ever met. I mean, those two things are directly related, in my opinion. They're not coincidences, Same with people who think they're unlucky, or that, they're always planning and imagining the worst case scenario just to be safe. And I'm like, motherfucker, you keep planning and imagine the worst case scenario, and guess what's going to show up? The worst case scenario. You'll be ready though.
There's even another layer to that too, which is cognitive biases. Like, if you keep telling yourself you're lucky, you're only going to remember the things that happen that make you that confirm that belief. And if you think you're unlucky, you're only going to remember the things that
Oh my God, that's a great point, dude. That's a
and so
really
your
great
mind
point.
is this great filter to kind of trick you into following the narrative that you've come up with yourself.
It's so true. And I think everyone does it to a degree, because
You have to.
it's a natural kind of human program almost.
Yeah. Our brains aren't big enough to remember everything that's ever happened.
No.
So we make these stories and we make these narratives that cause us to behave and act certain ways because, it's like it's kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy that happens in our heads.
Yeah. And and that's exactly what it is. And the problem with that is, a lot of times the prophecies that we're creating come from the past experiences, and we tend to make the best memories of the most traumatic things, right? So we take these snapshots of these awful events, and then we're like, oh fuck, I hope that never happens again, or just in general, the way that trauma works in the mind, and the way that it kind of causes such a like a fracture. I think that one of the reasons why the human race is in kind of the shambles that it's in right now is because I think most people are operating from this, not realizing that they're bringing their past into their future, especially when they haven't, integrated their past or healed from their past. They're just continually bringing more of the trauma into their life, and it's showing up in every which way you can imagine in this co-collective creation that we call reality. That's one of my thoughts that I have often, is like, man, I wish people would become so present that they stopped writing their shitty past into our future. I don't know if
Absolutely.
that's crazy.
You've had Ted on this show
Yeah.
before, and I'm becoming friends with Ted, and one of the questions he asked me that was very impactful, simple but impactful, was what stories are you telling yourself? And if you really think about it, our whole identity is various levels of stories that we've repeated over time and tell ourselves, even if we don't say out loud. And just acknowledging those stories is such a powerful concept to be like, yeah, they're kind of just stories. I could remember different parts of my life and piece them together in different ways and create an entirely different story if I really put my mind to it. And so that really woke me up in many ways. To be like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can change my narrative. I can change my story. I can do and be whoever I want to be in my mind within reason.
Right.
And things, then that self manifestation actually works in your favor.
Yeah, it does. It's a powerful thing to realize, because it begins to free you from the identity that you've been so attached to, and that could be a very limiting idea, and set of stories that you've been telling about yourself. And we tend to tell the traumatic stories, more than the others, and I think that's, kind of like where the survival programming interacts with this amazing sense of consciousness we have. And it's it's like this, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, you know, in a way, we're trying to heal, and that's why we revisit, and but we haven't really worked out the best way to do that. And so what happens is, we get triggered. Sometimes you even know you're triggered. You know that how you feel is not, the ouch is in no way related to the pinch, because you were not pinched that hard. Why did you get so upset and say ouch so loud? You start to realize that, oh, that can't be from now. That's got to be from back then. And even then, you find yourself talking about it, and you're like, yeah, I know I still need to work on that. How the fuck am I going to do that? But it's good to be aware, and I think that each time that you're making a little progress towards kind of ungluing from that, from those responses, and because they get conditioned in the body.
And yeah, well, I think one of the most damaging things that social media does to us is not let us reinvent ourselves,
Mm,
because people like narratives. And so when you present a certain way on your social media account that's tied to your real name as much as they want you to
yeah,
be tied to your real name, it becomes nearly impossible to try out different personas and different ways of thinking, different worldviews, without upsetting your user base or alienating your user
yeah,
base. And so there's this really horrible reinforcement that happens for people to want people to stay in their lane and
yeah.
stay what they want them to think. And gosh, that I think that is something that's new and really damaging for humanity.
Yeah, and I think it's tougher on, you know, I I think of my children. I mean, they're 10 and 7, and sometimes my son will ask me how many views I got, and I'm like, well, I tell him, and I'm like, just to give you an idea, like that's this much, and this video is that much. I was like, but it doesn't matter. I was like, because one day, then I'll get this amount of views, and that day could be soon, and it might not be soon, but that's not why I'm doing what I'm doing. I can see that happening eventually, but I do this because I love it. I do this because I think it's important that people have conversations like this, because then other people find themselves having the same, and that's how we you know come to a greater understanding about ourselves as human beings, and how to be better expressions of ourselves. That's what it's all about for me. That's the only game in town. And like, I came back from this audition, and acting is a thing where they want you to treat yourself like a company. You have to brand, you have to. And it's like, and the people who do it well, they tend to get farther quicker. But at the same time, then you got to be Joe, you got to be, you know, Guido Babajoki, and that's your persona. So every audition you got to go in. That's who they're expecting. That's who they want. You go in and try to be somebody else, and they're going to be like, "That's not who we called." They're going to scold you, and that's like, I'm like, man, this is bullshit.
Instagram has turned every single person into an actor.
That's it right there. Sorry about that. Okay.
Um, yeah, I so this is actually I've been thinking a lot about recently, uh, and this is kind of what Totem's about. How do you kind of break free from social media and look outside of it? Uh, you know, the show you're doing here is so important because we're having normal conversations, we're having vulnerable conversations. This isn't a pre-scripted media, there's no marketing people telling us how the market's going to react to what we're saying. You want to talk about topics and you want to question things and you want to be real. And a lot of people don't get that in their lives, not consistently at least. A lot of people just watch movies or read books, which have these really strong narratives that have formulas, and there's good versus evil, and there's always like a right and wrong answer, and that's just not how the world works.
No,
Like,
it's not. There's a lot of fucking nuance and gray area and then they get to a certain age, and it's like, and that's all they know, and that's all they want, and you try to talk to them like human to human, and they're like, show me the rule, show me the evidence, show me where it says that. I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm telling you what I saw, who I talked to. Like, well, I don't have this isn't a courtroom. I don't have exhibit A for you. I'm just telling you that I just spoke to this person. You know what I mean? Like, but they don't want to hear it. I know, it's crazy.
right. And so Totem at its core is really about getting a community, a worldwide community together, of people who want to have honest and vulnerable conversations that are pseudo anonymous. We'll be able to kick people out who are trying to be trolls and bad actors, which honestly is a very small amount of people. Um, and we'll grow this community of people who want, yeah, these honest conversations and want to really know how other people work and what other people think about, in kind of an organized way. And that's kind of all I want to deliver to the world is is that view of reality that we so sorely lack these days because of social media.
Yeah, that's very cool, man. I can't wait to see how, for it to come out and see where it goes. It sounds like exactly the kind of thing that needs to start coming out. I mean, you know who Bill Sofsky is, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've listened to the podcast. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, my God, you should talk to Bill. He would love to hear about this. I mean, he is like gung ho. If you want to make a program that can help people, unplug. There you go, from the fucking eye of Sauron that is, these big tech and their addictive algorithms. He was like, seek me out. And I swear that's what he said at the end of one of my, I was like,
Oh,
I am going to remember you said that, but yeah, you should definitely talk to Bill. I think he would love to help you develop this. And,
yeah, I was actually talking to Mike
oh,
Denheim
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
yesterday. Uh, yeah, he offered to make me a connection there, so I think
Cool.
that seems
Very
important.
cool. So, dude, Hunter, I mean, I heard some incredible stories about genetics and like, so I'm an identical twin, and
Oh yeah, that's cool.
and what's crazy, and this is great, this is gonna go off the rails because you're gonna be like, what? But my older brothers were identical twins, and they were premature babies, and only one of them survived. And they have a very rare genetic blood. I don't know if you would call it a disorder or a disease, because it's
Some
kind of,
conditions,
yeah, I mean,
generally.
it's really rare. It's like my older brother gets a sickle cell trait from my father, which in him is recessive, is paired with a recessive trait and harmless. And he gets a thalassemia trait from my mother, which in her is paired with a recessive trait and harmless. And he got, there's a 1 in 4 combination from each parent for these set of genes. And he got the one from my dad and the one from my dad that, if paired together, could cause problems. And so even when they do cause problems in people, most people have are in a healthy body or in a kind of a normal body, and the symptoms or side effects of this are very kind of rare. But my older brother Christopher was so premature, and his body was so underdeveloped, and he's got a lot of physical handicaps, that he gets these symptoms which they call a crisis. And when his blood sickles when it goes into a crisis, that's
Does he have sickle cell anemia?
so it takes on traits of sickle cell anemia in a crisis, and it's like extremely painful for him when this happens. And because he's in such a frail shell, like the craziest and anything can trigger this. You know what I mean? Like if he gets dehydrated, if he doesn't get enough sleep, sometimes if he could have, like, he drinks a lot of water to stay very hydrated, but he could have try to have one beer with us and the guys, and the next day we got to bring him to the hospital because the pain is so bad that we
Hmm.
can't treat him at home anymore. Growing up, we could treat him at home. The pain was more bearable. But so I have an identical twin, and my older brothers were identical twins, and my mom's sister had identical twin boys, my cousins, who of course we're very close with, and the four of us
Yeah.
go out. They're a little older than my twin and I, but yeah. So I mean, how, that's just a crazy, they say it's an accident every time.
Yeah, I've heard some people are genetically predisposed to have twins.
Even
Uh,
identical.
Identical, yeah, because the way obviously the way it works is the egg kind of prematurely splits with
Yeah.
identical DNA in it, and then gets well, it splits after it gets impregnated, and
Right.
then it does some kind of like weird split, and then it starts to make a human. And so, from what I've heard, that's actually something that is more prevalent in some people than other people,
No.
based on different factors. Um, so it's not actually too surprising to me that one person would have multiple sets of identical twins.
Wow. You're the first person to ever say that to me. In fact, I got thrown out of my biology class in ninth grade because I got into an argument with my teacher, because she insisted that identical twins are a fluke every time. And I was like, how do you explain my family? And she was like, just get out, like stop arguing with me. I'm trying to teach the fucking class.
Leave.
And I was like, all
Sounds
right.
like my high school experience. Well,
So
actually.
I go to the principal's office. I'm like, okay, sorry, won't ask questions. Until I was,
The worst schooling.
but yeah, so that's cool. I mean, I never heard that before. I was told and taught that it was that the egg splits, it's an accident every time. There is no, that fraternal twins, they can genetically check who is more likely to have fraternal twins, but not with identical. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like fuzzy memory of mine, so maybe I'm wrong, but it would make sense to me that either environmental or genetic factors play a role into that. And of course, it's not going to be every time. It'll
Right.
be a percentage of chance to happen. But as with pretty much everything genetics, there's always risk factors of things.
Right. Yeah, my dad got the 2-for-1 deal twice.
Lucky guy, he got you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I've heard some cool and crazy stories, man. And things that I didn't think were even possible, man. I would love for you to tell me like some of the real outlier stories from, I mean, obviously keeping total anonymous and not, I'm not asking you to put yourself in any kind of jeopardy to be in trouble, but like what was some of the craziest like things where you were like, what, that you were surprised by?
Yeah, so I was very lucky to be friends with several customer care people.
Hmm.
And our 23andMe is like top tier customer care. Uh, they all it's required that they all have like at least bachelors in biology or a similar field. So they're very well regarded in the company, and they have a lot of status, and they know a lot about how these things work. And so I was friends with a number of them, and yeah, some of the stories that they have like blew my mind. And they didn't understand that, like they didn't understand what was going on either until they investigated and like figured out what was happening. And so genetics, as much as we'd like to think that it's like, oh, the Mendel squares or whatever,
Yeah.
how the things
We think we
combine.
got it all figured out. Yeah.
It's not. Like for instance, you're familiar with the XY and XX chromosome
Right.
situation.
Right.
There's other ones.
No,
There's X0, XO, where you don't actually get a second chromosome.
but
There's
isn't that uh like I don't want to say Down syndrome, but isn't that when there's like something very wrong?
there can be, but because the X generally like when you have XX, they're exactly the same
Right.
chromosome, and so one X can actually uh, express normal genetics.
Normal X genes, yeah.
Yeah, and so women have two copies of the same gene, one from father and one from mother,
Right.
and so it doesn't it can not affect the person. They just don't have it for whatever reason. And there's also XXY where they have three.
What
And
happens
those
then?
and that can also express very normally. Uh,
Wow, I didn't know that.
many
How
things
does
can, many other things can happen. Like I think that's kind of like, don't quote me on this, but I think that's why like hermaphrodites happen if they
Okay.
have XXY,
Yeah.
but it can also not happen.
So you
Um,
can end up with XXY and live your whole life as either a man or a woman, or do they express
no,
um and you
not,
wouldn't know it unless you.
not no.
So when you guys flag something like that, are you like, hey, dear Mike, we just wanted to let you know that not only are you from Greece, but also you have an extra chromosome. Like, how does that work? Do you let them know, or do you just keep record?
It's a relatively rare condition, but not that rare. There's much rarer things out there.
Wow.
Um, I think they've had different strategies over the years on how to deal with that, because it's not always that we want to program all of that into the system because it's a lot of work. Um, so as far as I know, it used to be like, oh, we can't do anything for you. We can't do your DNA.
Because we don't have a
Or
database of XXY, right?
yeah, we don't know what to do with this. Or you call the customer and explain the situation. Now they may have actually incorporated that into the system.
Because there's that many of them.
Um, yeah, I mean, this is why I'm like very sympathetic to like the transgender movement, is
Hmm.
because genetics is really messy
Yeah.
uh, by itself, and then when you include society and
Oh yeah, yeah.
psychological, like gender is just not the binary thing that society really wants it to be.
And it never has been, I don't think.
No.
I think since human beings have become, sentient. I mean, on this, 250,000 years ago when we showed up the way we are now, I think that it's been much more complex than people want to admit, which is why, we have these fantastic stories and novels and you don't have to read too many great books to come to realize that there were always people of kind of like you just weren't sure whether they were male or female, but they were usually very fucking smart and they had a place right next to the king or the queen, like and like so this archetype of a person who embodies like the wisdom from both genders has shown up since in all these stories for so long, and it doesn't come from the air. So I agree with you. I was just having a conversation with someone on my last podcast, and he was saying how you know he was complaining about how it's been hijacked, like the political part of it has been hijacked, and how they use it to keep people divided, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I mean, like, so that's a valid point. I mean, like, if we all just accepted each other for whatever we are, and we didn't need, we have this fucking need to label everything and to call, everything has to be either black or white, or we have to put everything in its own little box. But if we just let things be, then you wouldn't need a transgender movement, because whatever was going on will be fine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's kind of my thought on it, but maybe that's not accurate. I don't. I'm speaking from like a perspective that I just see things, and what I see is like people not accepting. I mean, in some cases, children, and then into their teens, like for however they're feeling, because society says they have to be one way or the other. And why can't we just accept them for how they are then, and then see where they end up? That's my only thing, is like, and I'm cool with whatever that is, like I'm totally comfortable with any and all sexualities, so, and genders, races, whatever. So I don't, it's always confusing to me, like why there's such a debate, I guess.
Honestly, I think unfortunately it's just too convenient uh, politically to demonize people. It's such a strong motivator to be like, hey, this group that we're part of is different from that group for that reason. We need to fight or vote or do something that ultimately will just get that one person into power, if that's what they want. Uh, and it's just too easy to point out differences like that. And I don't know how
Yeah,
to change that.
me either. And Bill Sofke was teaching me that the brain is already wired to attach to and like be drawn to the contrast of that,
Mhm.
of course. So the algorithms reflect that, and I'm like, man, that's dangerous. But so back to like, I would like some of these outlier and surprising cases. Give us some juicy examples if you can, please.
So, uh, yeah, the first one is, um, yeah, one of the things that happens is, there's still a lot of racism in the world, and so especially around the ancestry results, the poor customer care people will have to deal with a lot of people who, did not believe the results, um,
Oh,
and so it'd be, I'm not going to single out any particular ethnicity, but sometimes, you're told from your parents or grandparents, like, you're 100% whatever, right?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you get the results back, and you're like, actually, grandma, we're half this and a quarter of this, da, 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 and grandma just like not okay with that. Um, or, whoever's not okay. And so you get a lot of people calling in and being like, you're
They're like,
wrong,
your
you're wrong.
database is for shit.
To the point where there was a funny episode where there was a group of white supremacists that were at first all about 23andMe. They're like, this is the way that we prove how white we are to each other. Until one of the supremacist leaders got the results back and they weren't
Uh-oh.
100% white. And all of a sudden, we are, manipulating the results to make them look bad. Da, da, da,
Like, how the fuck would you even know? I mean, you're just getting a name. Do they understand that, like, not everyone is getting their entire background? You're just getting a name and the sample,
and we don't care. Like, we
Exactly.
don't care. Why would we care
Wow.
that much? So we
Wow.
went from being like the best thing that ever happened to white supremacists to, enemy number one, in a very short time.
Wow. That's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, I never even that, but I can only imagine the fucking phone calls that must come in. Be like, dude, why? Just leave me alone, man. It's not my fault, that your great, 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 great grandmother spent time in the Middle East, like
I think it was in Wired, but one of Forbes or Wired had this full feature article at one point, saying that 23andMe's customer care are like therapists. And it was really like how that was working, because these people have so much compassion in them and they want to help. And these other people call in, customers call in, and biology is really confusing. So these results can be very confusing. And so they're very patient and they help people through these things. But then sometimes, yeah, you get white supremacists yelling at you, which is also not okay.
that'd be a funny skit to write. But so okay, so give me one that's more like kind of more of an anomaly, more of a like a holy shit kind of an example if you can.
So, um, and this is true, I think, worldwide. About 1 in 10 of people in our database had what we call a non-paternity event, where the somewhere in your family tree the father was not the father that you thought.
Right.
And that's always a really tricky situation.
Yeah.
Be like, is your system broken? And sometimes samples get swapped and sometimes things get confused. So sometimes there's an error, but oftentimes 1 in 10 times, yeah, it's the father's not the father.
Yeah.
That's
I
pretty
can see
normal.
that. Yeah.
One story I heard was a non-maternity event, though.
Yeah. I want to hear this one. This is one I think I heard. This is crazy.
And what happened, I think there were non-identical twins that,
They were
yeah, it was
fraternal, right? They were fraternal twins.
fraternal twins that, came out of the mother. There's pictures.
Yeah.
Uh, and when they got their results, when they grew up, they're like, oh yeah, the dad's the dad, but the mom is not the mom.
So how the fuck? How does that even work? I mean, so I thought it would be non-paternity, I'm sorry, a non-paternity event in fraternal twins. And I mean, and that's possible, right? You guys probably get that on occasion, right? Where
Uh,
there's two sperm, from two different fathers who get into two different eggs.
yeah, that happens. Yeah,
So
that was one of
that's
my stories. Yeah, but yeah.
yeah, no, that's so I'm sorry. But I had no idea. I thought that's where you were going with this. I didn't realize that the other one was impossible. How is that possible?
Well, science, it turns out. So what had happened
Oh,
was this mom froze her eggs,
yeah.
and the lab wasn't keeping very good track of whose eggs were who.
Oh my God.
And so when she went to go use them, there was a swap, and she gave birth to someone else's children.
Oh, wow. But was it both or just one? It's both, right?
Uh, both were not
Oh,
the
both were
mothers.
not the mothers, they were the fathers.
Well, yeah, yeah, they were the fathers. What I don't remember is if both children had the same mother. They may have come from even two different mothers.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? That's a lawsuit, boy. I mean, I guess they wouldn't know in time but my God, that's fucking crazy. So pretend I didn't just ruin the surprise. Tell me the other story. We
Well,
could
the other
leave that
story
in.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, two fraternal twins called in, and they were like, "Hey, I think there's something wrong with your test because, my brother has the right father, but I don't have the right father, and we're twins." And so, yeah, the poor customer care person had to explain to them that sometimes, in the case of fraternal twins, the two eggs can be inseminated by two different men.
Listen, man, I'm sorry, but your mom was a lot more promiscuous than she let on. Okay, I'm sorry to break this to you, but I mean that's like that's so crazy.
That's a great, family dinner, family Christmas dinner conversation to have. It's like, so mom,
Hey,
what were
mom,
you?
you remember that time you told me that you and dad, when I was conceived? Yeah. What were you doing about 2 days before that?
Or at the same time, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, like, wow, that's
It was probably
crazy.
the 80s. Everyone's like on coke. Who knows?
It's true. A lot of crazy things happened then. Um, wow, I didn't know that was. I mean, theoretically, if there's two eggs, it makes sense. It's like there's a literal race,
I
right? Like,
think it has to happen pretty quickly,
and what would have been
within a day.
crazy is if those two were very competitive throughout life, only to find out that they've been competitive since they were sperm, like
That's true. I mean, they're siblings, so I'm sure they're competitive.
I'm sure too, having a twin and being, way there was no cooperation taught. It was just like whatever, let them compete for everything. It's not that much fun, but
No,
that is the natural inclination. I'm trying to teach my kids to do something other than that so they don't have to have the strained relationships that I've had with my brother.
you can talk
But
it out. It's fine.
yeah,
Work together. It's great.
cooperate, try cooperating, but oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean, so I was thinking it couldn't happen naturally. It has to be kind of an insemination deal with the mom, right?
No, it can definitely happen naturally.
It could happen naturally.
Yeah, it can definitely happen, especially if conception happens very close together. And I'll let your imagination kind of work that
Oh,
one.
you're talking about with the paternity event, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. With
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
maternity event, though, yeah, that has to happen. Uh,
yeah.
with in vitro, I think
With
it's called.
the maternity event. Yeah, that
Yeah.
okay. That I was gonna say. Yeah, no, I know how the paternity event would happen. I mean, I've already thought about that. I was like, oh shit.
Get it out of your
Uh,
mind.
yeah,
You're in the gutter.
get your mind out of the gutter now. Oh man, that's crazy. I didn't know that. Was there any other ones that come to
Yeah.
mind?
But there was actually one that actually made the news at one point.
Oh,
Um, and let's see what happened. Effectively, what had happened was people started calling in, like a few amount of people started calling in saying, "Hey, uh, your service is saying that I have um, like 5 or 6 half siblings, which is weird." Uh, and then we started getting more and more calls, and so like we got enough calls to where like something really suspicious was happening. It
yeah.
wasn't just like one guy,
Whose
uh,
dad was a lot
Johnny,
more. Yeah,
Johnny Appleseed everywhere.
yeah.
And so when they dug into it, they realized that every single one of these cases uh, not only had been a product of a sperm donation, but had actually been part of the same clinic.
Oh,
And so all in all, I think there's about 30 people that are related like this. And when you do sperm donations, uh, there's a low and specific number that you're not allowed to give, numbers of copies of that sperm out. And so I don't know the number exactly, but it's definitely not 30. And, and
Wait,
when
this
we
what do you do for a living? I make my money off. Never mind. We'll talk about it later.
donations,
Yeah, donations.
and
Um,
so we at that point we knew something illegal had happened. Um,
mm,
and so 23andMe doesn't work with the authorities, especially if they come to us.
yeah.
We fight as much as possible. But at this point, we knew something bad was happening, and so they handed over that evidence to the authorities, And it turns out what had happened was in the 80s, one of the technicians had swapped out a bunch of samples with his own.
Oh man.
And this actually was in the news, and the guy got arrested, and I think he's in jail now.
I wonder what they charged him with.
I think it's sexual assault.
Wow. I mean, so in other words, he replaced illegally,
Illegally, yeah.
all these different. I guess he thought that his seed would be better, and he was like, "We'll just save the planet one donation at a time."
Yeah, some
I mean, I
extreme
don't want
case
to
of
know how he got
megalomania.
him in there. You know what I mean? Like that's fucked up. Like I know surveillance probably wasn't what it was now back then, but still, how do you get away with that so much? What are you doing? Do you work totally alone? I mean, like you need at least a minute, like what the fuck? It's not
You
like he
have a
had a
lot of,
cell phone, like to just take out and bring up some, porn or something like that. How do you,
you
man?
have
I
a
mean, I
lot
know
of
they used to
phone
have like
calls.
VHS tapes, in the rooms maybe, but it's
I
crazy.
mean, it sounds like this guy was so into himself, he probably just used a mirror.
Yeah, that's true too. I
Just-
mean, he definitely had a narcissistic thing going, I think. I bet you he didn't think he'd ever get caught.
yeah, no way. No way did he think that. And then,
Wow.
this company shows up and a lot of skeletons in the closet start popping out.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
I think it ended in a kind of happy ending though, because last I heard, everyone who was related has like these big like family reunion parties now,
Oh,
and
that's
they
cool.
all
So
get
there's
together and
that's really cool.
they
They're kind of celebrating it then.
yeah.
Good for them. That's awesome. We're like, dude, I have like 35 half brothers. We got each other's backs. Don't fuck with us.
Yeah, can you imagine having the family that big like all of a sudden? It's pretty
It's great.
amazing.
That's pretty cool though. To all of a sudden have a support group like that. They should get that guy off early just because it worked out.
No, he should be in jail for the rest of his life. That's some dark stuff, man. That's
Oh,
some,
I know. But what I'm saying is if you measure things by the damage done, I mean, sure, obviously some people were defrauded and what do you call it, but at the same time, the level of hurt is minimal. So I think that's the most important thing. But don't get me wrong, he broke the law.
I mean, I don't think it was right away that it was a positive thing. I think there was a lot of
Oh,
emotional
okay,
damage.
yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
That they worked
So
through.
let me take you a little far out with us
All right.
before we have to wrap. But so I love to know people's experiences with like UFOs and ETs and I always joke whatever everyone and tell them, the government says it's okay now for you to believe in UFOs. They even admit that they have some buried. Go figure. It's like, everyone who talked about Area 51 for 60 years was a quack and was crazy. And then the government's like, oh, and by the way, we have some vehicles that we recovered that are not from this planet. But don't mind us. Just pay attention to the pandemic and carry on. And I was like, what? Did you see the headlines? What headlines? I'm like, forget it. You wouldn't believe it if I told you. And no one cares anyway. Somehow, nobody's surprised and nobody cares. But so how many UFOs have you seen, if any? And how many ships have you been on, if any?
I mean, I am an alien. No, it's an interesting topic and one that I've thought a lot about. Uh, yeah, I don't know why the government would say anything about them having stuff and not release kind of everything they know about it.
I do.
What? Oh, I mean, it just seems like a weird move, right?
Yeah, it's like
It
everything
makes it
else.
feel unbelievable to me
Which part?
um,
Which part?
that they have anything.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, I'm You're probably familiar with like the Fermi paradox.
No, actually, I'm not.
The Fermi paradox. So Fermi was like this kind of famous physicist. I think he worked on like the Manhattan Project and stuff. He was sitting around eating lunch with other physicists, and they were talking about the same thing that we're talking about here. And he just kind of like was like, "Well, where are they then?" And what he meant by that was uh, the universe. It's been around for like what 13, 14 billion years, right?
Yeah.
We've been around, you know, a little bit of that.
Yeah. Not, I don't even know if a little bit is justifiably, I mean, we've been around, not even I mean, we're just getting here. I think, if
Our
you
written history starts around 6,000 years ago, right?
right.
Which is a long time in human time, but if you took the universe, right, and you took the time that the universe is around, and you scaled it down to like your standard foot long ruler, what part of that would the human race occupy? We'd be like half a millimeter at the end there.
Not even, yeah.
Yeah, maybe even like less than half a millimeter, right? And so the question, where are they then, is directly related to that. Uh, I think if you look at it, the possibility of life in the universe happens around halfway down the ruler, maybe a couple inches in, right? That's when like planets formed and the necessary conditions for life to exist. That's when like chaos kind of settled down and things were more stable. They could Alien forms could have started anywhere between then and to where we are currently in time. And so, if you look at how quickly humans have evolved technologically since we had the first written words down in such a short amount of time, like we're sending stuff into space now, right?
Yeah.
Um, billions of years, other alien species could have been developing those technologies.
Oh yeah.
For
Yeah.
us. And so what Fermi is trying to point out is like, you know, if there were aliens, they would, uh, like by many factors of probability, be significantly more advanced than us.
Oh, no question about it.
Like even 1 million year head start. Can you imagine where we're going to be in a million years?
I mean,
it's going to be insane.
Yeah. We certainly won't be in this present iteration, that's for sure. But yeah, I know what you're saying, but I don't know where you're going with it. Like, so what was this?
The question is, where are they? Is, if there are aliens, we should have seen them by now, because they would have been these, level 4 civilizations creating energy signatures larger than 1,000 suns.
Right. Okay. So I see where you're going. So you're saying that there's the reason why we probably haven't seen any, or at least this iteration, this present day understanding of reality doesn't know of any open contact, is because what's your line of thought with that?
The first thought is, and Fermi's thought would be, there are none.
There are none.
We're alone.
So you think we're alone?
Well, there's explanations to this, why we haven't seen any yet. My default is, okay, yeah, sure, we're alone. Only because I don't know what to do with the information. If there are some, like what do we do with that? There's nothing I can't do anything with that knowledge. So like,
right.
Defaulting to we're alone is pretty much good enough for me to live my life.
Right. No, I understand that. Yeah.
Another explanation is, there are lots of aliens out there, but there's some fundamental limit to physics that disallows us from contacting each other or allowing the immense amount of space travel that needs to happen for us to get.
Right. I understand. So I understand where you're going with that. So I just want to respond to both points that you made, which are perfectly valid and grounded in a lot of ways. So I'm going to send you a link to a show that I just watched recently, which it's a fascinating show. It's on Gaia. It's on that I don't know if you know of or have heard of Gaia. It's almost like a Netflix, except with all things off the beaten path, like, so there's shows about quantum physics, there's spiritual shows, there's shows about genetics, about aliens, about space, you name it. And it's I mean, there's meditation, there's yoga, but there's also like a whole part of it that's about space and the secret space. Some of them are more conspiratorial than others. This show, which is produced by Billy Carson, just the episode that I'm going to send you is one that examines a lot of different odd-long skulls and bodies found right here on Earth that never really got any publicity. Because I would think that you would have a field day looking and listening to the genetics to which they found on these humans, because well, not humanoids is what we would call them in like the UFO ET community. You would call them humanoids because they're not exactly human, and these beings that they found are not exactly human. I mean, some of them, you know, if even if just the 6 fingers wasn't on each hand wasn't enough, the elongated skull, that they don't have sutras in their skull, the eye sockets are, you know, twice the size of ours. Everything is, you know, the spinal column is a whole inch back in their elongated skulls than ours. And when they do the DNA tests, when they try to map the genomes on them, they keep, you know, like obviously it's like the same thing that you guys come up against. It's like, what, we don't have a database for this. This fucking thing has more, we have more in common with a banana than we do with this skeleton that you found. Okay, like, what do you want us to do with this thing? And of course everyone's like, oh, we don't know what it is. Okay, but you know it's not fucking human. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think,
Well, DNA is fragile, and
no, you're right, but
it's really quickly.
skeletal structures, you know, I mean, I'm going to send you this. I would love
Okay.
to check it out. But so like that's the first thing, is like, I think that there's bountiful evidence that has just kind of really been glossed over because human beings, you know, we're very busy with our own drama. And so, you know, things like these, all these skulls they found and all these anomalies that have been discovered, and they've found everything from, you know, not only skulls and DNA that is so far off the beaten path that they don't even know what to do with it. But, you know, there's been a lot of studies into our own genome, which, you know, especially in chromosomes, that they just write off because they can't explain, you know. And I was presented a lot of these studies at this seminar I was at, and I was like blown away by it, because when scientists don't know, you know, or wish to put their name on something because they don't, the implications may make them sound less fundable next time, you know, these studies don't tend to get publicity, but they're out there, right? And I've seen a lot of them, and I'm like, the fucking implications of this study out of Yale in 1997, or maybe it was Harvard, you know, are insanely profound, you know. Like, I mean, the fusion they found in chromosome B, and like, I'm just like, why doesn't anyone talk about this? And you know, the guy was like, because the scientists wouldn't even put their name on it, because they didn't want credit for it, because they couldn't explain what they found, right? So I think there's a lot of evidence, and there will come even more in our lifetime, where it will be clear that our DNA, the reason why we have, you know, less genes than a flea, is not because we're less complex, but because we're such a mix and a hybridization of different civilizations and species from so many different, you know, star systems and planets, that we we have yet, and so, you know, DNA is a program. It's, and we've only, it's like you just said, we've been here like, we literally just got the first part of our toenail in the door, and that's how little of our DNA has evolved and unfurled. And I think we'll, you know, we'll continue to see more evolution, and the human mind and our capacity is going to continue to do remarkable things, you know, like the 4-minute mile, which was impossible for so long until somebody broke it, you know, and now people break it all the time now. We believe we can't do something until we do it, and then everyone realizes they can do it, right? And so that's exciting. But the other thing I want to tell you, some of the thing that we understand a lot in, like, you know, the ET community is transdimensional travel. And so there's been a lot of declassified files from, like, not just the CIA, but all, basically all the agencies. And you do you see Stranger Things on Netflix?
Yeah.
So that insanity comes from declassified files, where they literally, I mean, I don't think it was in Jersey. I hope it wasn't. It's a little too close for comfort, but they I mean, and they found, and they hacked Russian documents where they were doing the same fucking thing. And, like, you know, they were literally somehow opening a transdimensional portal into another world. I mean, you can fuck things up like that. it's not a good idea. But I think that there's a, it's not that we there's a there's two things. There's an intergalactic do not touch, do not interfere law that is generally accepted, right? Species at our point in evolution don't make it very far, clearly. So there's not a lot of people like us running around in spaceships because we're just not evolved enough. We wouldn't be allowed, right? The same way that we try to set off nukes in space and on the moon, good idea, and UFOs show up and disable the nuke. Like I've seen footage and heard hundreds of, and one of the reasons why, they're able to they're mobilizing now to call them a threat, a national security threat, is because for the last 50 years, UFOs have been disabling our nuclear weapons basically at will, because like you said, they're millions of years ahead of us. And this is like taking candy from a baby, that they don't let the children, blow the moon up for no good reason.
One of my favorite explanations for why aren't they here yet is that we're part of some kind of intergalactic zoo situation where everyone's just observing us, and like it's like a preserve that they want to see grow on its own.
There's a lot to that. You have no idea how much there is to what you just said. There's a lot of people have written and talked about how that is absolutely true, and that until 2012, they're really, we weren't even you weren't even allowed to drive by. You weren't allowed to drive. You weren't even allowed to do a drive-by. There was a general quarantine, which of course that word has been soiled now thanks to the last year. But up until 2012, it's widely talked about, and that there was a quarantine on Earth, and that's because of everything that happened with Atlantis, what we would call Atlantis. And all the civilizations that came in, I don't know, the missing 240,000 years we don't have a history of, that we were on the planet, and how fucked up, how many times we fucked it up. It's like they were like, okay, everybody go, don't come back, it's hands off now and then I guess something happened in 2012 that lifted the quarantine. We were supposed to have turned a corner as a species because, there was a lot more traffic then. That's kind of like a summary of what I was taught and what I understand.
Or was it our equipment got better, and so we could sense things?
Well, I think that just a lot more, the UFO accounts from people after 2012 skyrocketed, and that's another thing that lends credence to this theory. And there's a lot of people who, claim to be able to go into a trance, a channeling state, and then, bring forth information from someone who is related to them on a soul level, but not living in the here and now with them, like people from, or beings or entities from Sirius, or like Abraham. Did you ever hear of Esther Hicks?
No.
So Esther Hicks is, she wrote The Law of Attraction. She's the person who wrote the books that the movie The Secret is inspired by, and the law of manifestation. And she talks about it all the time. If you Google Abraham Hicks, you'll find a woman talking in a slightly affected tone, with her, I think she keeps her eyes open. She's one of the few channels who keeps her eyes open, but people don't realize that they're just become huge fans of hers because she speaks so eloquently and so precisely about the law of attraction and about how to change your vibration into an alignment that will bring you the things that you so desire. People are very attracted to that. Go figure. And so what they don't realize is that Abraham is the name that Esther gave to the collective that she began to channel when she started meditating. You got to read this story about her. Her nose started to move, and she was giggling, and her husband was like, "What's going on over there?" They used to meditate in these chairs next to each other. And then they realized that her nose was making letters. And so they started to write out the letters, and they started to write out the messages. And that's where the eventually this collective came forth. That's what they call themselves. They no longer have bodies. They're a group of beings who she named them Abraham. And they bring the law of manifestation, one of the laws of the universe, of the one of the governing laws of the universe. That's what they do. They bring that to species like ours on planets like ours, so that we have a better understanding of our creative powers and our true nature, that we're vibrational beings and that we're always creating with our thoughts and our words and our deeds. And people don't realize that. It's funny, like they go on like a cruise and they're like, I had no idea that she actually claimed to be channeling an ET race of beings, because she just speaks so casually about it. I got to send you so many links, dude.
All right.
It's
I mean,
great.
I like all those stories. I love the questioning of things and the exploratory nature. For me personally, unless a piece of knowledge has some type of like repro reproducibility or predictive nature, like Newtonian physics, for all its flaws,
Yeah.
was like one of the first times we were ever able to accurately predict the future.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
if I know a ball of this size goes down the ramp at this speed, I know a ball of this size. I can calculate where that ball is going to end up at any point in time going down this ramp. Like that. I think people take Newtonian physics for granted in that sense. Like it's
Well, quantum physics came along and kind of gave Newtonian physics not a bad name, but it's like that's the old model.
just a
but
ball. Like
but it's vastly important. I mean, we know everything that we do is wrapped around Newtonian physics and this reality that we live in. I mean, the way that we can, the only reason why we can reach the stars is because of Newtonian physics. So I'm with you, man. And I'm with you. I got so much stuff I'm going to send you, but before I say goodbye, I want to ask you one more question. What, I love asking this question because I garner so much wisdom from the answers from my guests, but
Yeah.
oh, look, he's back just in time.
I've been monitoring. Sorry, it was.
Why don't you tell me to shut up if you were modern? I was talking way too much.
You were. You really were. You gotta let the guests speak. That's the whole.
I was trying, man, but I got excited. I'm sorry.
Well, these are the questions that Faust lives for. So go ahead, kick it.
Okay, so if you were, let's say you were leaving on a spacecraft that finally showed up and showed you where it was. If you were leaving, and let's say you were going, and there was another one coming, right? And they flagged you down, and they were like, "Whoa, Bo."
Is that the question? I thought the question is if you're getting on a spaceship and
I'm
leaving
changing
Earth
the
forever,
fucking question.
what's the one thing you would tell Earth?
I'm changing the fucking question.
Why you're running into aliens now? Like,
okay, fine,
the
forget
whole
about
narrative's changed.
Well, I'm trying to customize it for Bo. Okay. No,
I thought the idea was if you're getting on a space. This is what I always tell waitresses or waiters. I say if you're going to get on a spaceship right now and leave Earth forever, what's one thing you'd order on this menu? And I thought that was the
yeah, that's a great way to figure out, to just ask them what their favorite food is.
What's one thing you would tell the world? But anyway, go ahead.
No. So Bo, he's right. No, let me ask you my favorite question since we're running out of time. What if you were leaving and you could send a message, to every human being on the planet, let's say while they were sleeping, and that you could give them an understanding or a mantra or a few sentences of something that they could then understand and bring into their life that you feel would help the human race, what would you say to us?
Yeah, what would you say, Bo?
What kind of programming would you write, Bo?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, that's a tough one because a lot of this stuff requires a lot of context. We live in such a complex society now that short sound bites that sound good, lose meaning outside of any context. So something that everyone can understand is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
I think organized religion got a lot of things wrong, but some of the words of Jesus are just so profound. Love thy neighbor. Like it's
man.
Some of this basic stuff we still don't really do.
You're right.
So I think it would probably be along those lines because it's just so timeless and immortal.
I love that, Bo. I love that.
But I really want people to help to figure out how to understand each other better, and understand what everyone's values are, because I think that's where a lot of miscommunication happens.
Yeah.
Especially in politics. I can have a really exciting idea that I want to share with people across political lines, but if I don't know how to talk to them, if I don't know their values,
Yeah.
it's gonna fall on deaf ears at best. At worst, I'm gonna get enemies, you know?
Yeah. It's
And
true.
so, yeah, understanding people's values, I think, is a really important aspect of something that we don't do enough of.
I love that. That's great. And I agree with what you said too. And I'm not a religious guy by any means,
Me
but
neither.
I think Jesus got that right. And I think that we're still trying to grasp that because it's not easy to do. And in a lot of ways, I think people forget that it's why we're here. Um, but what a world the place would be, if we embodied just that teaching, you
Yeah.
know, it would be something. But Bo, this has been awesome, man. I'm so happy we got to talk about everything, like from crazy paternity events to identical twins software. We've covered a broad spectrum of things that I didn't imagine we would. So thank you so much for your time, brother. Appreciate
Yeah,
it, man.
this is surprising to myself how much I could talk about. I thought this was gonna be a short episode, but
Me too. I've been neglecting my kids for like a half hour. I got to go, but
oh, sorry.
no, it's not your fault. It's my fault. But I'm gonna email you some links to some of those things that
Great.
we talked about. And
Yeah, I love to read.
cool, man.
I read a lot of stuff. So,
Awesome, Bo. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
all right, thank you.
Have
Thanks,
a great
Hunter.
weekend, man. Later, Mr. Producer. He's gonna pretend like he's not here
He's not listening to us.
now. See you, Bo. Thanks.
Bye.